So welcome to another one of my cooking videos. Today I'm going to try to make pasta a little bit healthier. It's pasta, so you know, it's always going to be not the best thing for you to eat every day, but I can't live without it. I don't think any Italian I know can live without it, so we'll just do what we can. I'm going to make whole wheat pasta, so any kind of 100% whole wheat flour works. I'm just using this, and you know, it's not the best or the worst, it's whatever you can find available. They're all pretty much the same. This recipe is homemade pasta dough. It's literally the easiest thing in the world. It's flour and water. That's it. There's no yeast, there's no it's not like pizza dough that you have to make the dough with yeast and then knead it and then let it rise and then go back. And like, this is literally the flour, you add the water, you mix it together to get the right consistency, and then you can make any shape pasta with this. This isn't a recipe particular for a certain type of pasta. It's the base for any shape. So if you had like an attachment for like a KitchenAid or some kind of device, you could use this to make spaghetti, you could use it to make rotini, to make elbows, to make macaroni, to make orecchiette. It's literally any shape you want. So first, if you want to just take a look, I just have my flour in the bowl, and basically what you do is you just make like a little well, and then what I'm going to start doing, and then I'll work the dough a little bit and get back to you guys in a minute, but you're just going to want to add like a little bit of water at a time, and just kind of, you know, if you don't want to get your hands dirty, maybe you just got a manicure, I don't know, you can just start stirring the dough with a fork. And just, again, you want to add a little bit of water at a time because you want to make sure that you're working the dough to get to the right consistency. You don't want it to be too watery or too sticky, and you don't want it to be too dry. So you just kind of keep going a little at a time until you get it to where you need it to be. So with that said, I'm gonna work the dough a little bit and get back to you guys so you can see what it is supposed to look like when you're ready to make the pasta. Thanks! Okay, so the next step, like I said, is you've added some water. You gotta get your hands a little dirty. You've gone in now, you're kind of feeling the dough out, putting it together. You see how like there's kind of all of these little bits here still, so when it looks like this, obviously you still need to add more water. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more, and you wanna get it all absorbed with the flour, and just kind of, you know, use your hands to work all the flour and the dough together. So you're gonna do this until it's a ball of dough and there's not like any of this kind of loose flour and dough around it. Alright, so again, I'm going to work this for another minute and get back to you guys with what the ball of dough is supposed to look like in the end. Thanks! Now we have our nice little ball of dough. It's all of the flour was absorbed. It feels very kind of like dense, a little bit sticky. So what you want to do right now is put some flour down on the counter, and you want to kind of just knead it for a few minutes so the dough gets nice and, you know, soft and malleable. And you want to just make sure that the flour and the water, everything's really incorporated, so that you have a nice, easy dough to work with when you go to form the pasta. So you're gonna do this for not long, couple minutes, 2-3 minutes, nothing crazy. And again, we don't have any yeast in this dough, so you don't have to set it to rise. But what you wanna do after you finish kneading the dough for a few minutes is actually just maybe leave it on the counter, cover it with the bowl, and you wanna let it rest for like 10-15 minutes maybe, just so that it relaxes, and then when you're ready to take it out and make the pasta, it'll just, you know, make it easier and have the right consistency and elasticity you need in order to form whatever little pastas you want to make. So I'm going to finish doing that, and then at this point like I said, what you would want to do is leave that sucker right there. You're going to cover it up and let it rest for, like I said, about 10-15 minutes. Our dough that we put to rest for a few minutes is still hiding under the bowl. When it's ready, what you do is you're just gonna like slice off a little bit and then keep the rest of it covered so it doesn't dry out. And from that piece that you slice off, you want to cut it into these kind of like fat little chunks and put a little bit of flour on the counter so it doesn't get sticky. And then what you're gonna do is you want to roll it out so that it forms just like a long tube. I would say that this is, you probably want it about 1/2 inch thick maybe if I had to put a measurement on it. So from that little piece of dough you cut, you're probably going to get about 4 of these rolls. And it doesn't matter that they're all the same length, but you want to make sure they're all the same thickness because that's going to make sure that they all cook evenly. So once you have all of those, you then cut your little rolls into these smaller pieces. I want to say you can make them 1 inch to like 1.5 inches long. So you're just going to have a bunch of these little pieces. And then this is just for the type of pasta we're making. What you want to do is you take one at a time. And sorry, and this type of pasta is called cavatelli. So what you want to do to make these cavatelli is, depending on how long you end up making these pieces, you use 2 or 3 fingers. You just apply a little bit of pressure down and then you roll them towards you. So they're gonna form this like little, whoops, well I just messed this up, but in theory they just form this like little shell, like a little boat for all the delicious sauce and cheese and oil to go into. And you just, this is just it, super easy. Put a little pressure, roll it towards you. Now my pastas never look the same. Every single piece of pasta I make is always different. Some of them rip, like this one just ripped. Whatever, it's no big deal. It's just supposed to be fun and delicious. They're not gonna all look perfect. God knows every single pasta I've ever made looks like a disaster the first time I do it. So it's just a matter of getting your hand into it and getting the feel for it. And then they kind of slowly but surely all start to look uniform and not crazy. But that's it. That's how you make whole wheat pasta dough. That's how you make cavatelli. And you know, just have fun with it. Look, that one came out like crazy looking. I mean, it's awful.
Let them dry for about a half an hour at least.
And then, yes. Cook them in Thank you water. To my wonderful videographer, also known as my mom. Anytime I mess up, she's always here to make sure I do it the right way. So she just wanted me to remind you guys that once you've made all your pasta, you want to let it sit and dry for about half an hour before you cook it. Now, don't forget this is fresh pasta, so it's never going to need to cook as long as the boxed pasta you buy from the store. That cooking time for boxed pasta, depending on what it is, they always tell you to cook like 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Fresh pasta, when you're drying it and you're eating it and cooking it that day, you always want to taste test it, but it's never going to need to cook 10 minutes.
Usually maybe once it floats to the top, it's done.
Yeah, so that's a good indicator. I can show you that, guys, in a separate video once we throw this in. When the pasta starts floating to the top, it'll take a few minutes. That means it's done. So now we're just going to finish making all the pasta. I'll do a quick photo for you so you can guys see it all together. And then we'll show you what it looks like when it's boiling. And then we're done. See you soon.